Yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, EBar, and it's another late debate finally. And today we've got Tony, the one, Tony H.
That's right. Yes, you said my name right on the mixer, although I'm being called fine lately. I guess I'm so fine, but it's all right. Yes.
Good old fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I haven't really made it a big secret that I thought No Mercy was hot garbage for multiple reasons. Um, the match endings just weren't that great, and particularly Braun Strowman eating one F5 and getting pinned off that, I thought was absolutely stupid. So today's topic is going to be, we're not that late to it this time.
Nope.
What if Braun had won the Universal Championship at No Mercy and, not lost after one damn F5? So we talked about this a little bit on the Scoop last week, but basically I'm just thinking, number one, it only made sense because Brock's going away for God knows how long, and he's taking the title with them. Why do they want to do that?
Yeah, like
Can you answer me that? I don't understand why they willingly take their top championship off the show for an extended period of time. That makes absolutely no sense. And they act like, they want Brock to continue to seem undefeatable and so powerful and strong. But he could actually seem even stronger if he lost to Braun. And then, whenever he finally was ready to come back, kind of be in a mood of like, hey, I lost to this guy, so now I want it more than ever. I want to come back, prove that I can beat him, and then whenever he did come back, let him beat Braun then, if he just has to be champion going into WrestleMania, and that would make him look stronger because he beat the monster that he previously couldn't beat. You know what I mean? And then you still have a Universal Champion on your show for the end of the year. Does that not make sense?
yeah, no, I was just letting you finish. Like I agree, like almost wholeheartedly what you say. The one thing I am going to say that really puts the complex thing on this whole issue is the fact that he can job out in 2 minutes to a 50-year-old Goldberg, but he cannot put over Braun Strowman. So again, logic, the whole is that, and this is now the second time, ladies and gentlemen, number two, that he's held a title since he's been back for probably going to be a calendar year and barely been defending it. So how do you feel about if you're Vince McMahon that Raw is your number one show, and yet the main title will not be on the show 2 of the past, I think, 4 or 5 years? That's just spitballing. So that's bad. And this time around, it's a whole year because I remember it was SummerSlam to WrestleMania. He did this before. Now it's going to be WrestleMania to WrestleMania unless somehow he drops it along the way. Not good booking. Not good booking at all. And the problem is that Braun Strowman you made him like a monster. Your number one guy, Roman Reigns, you made him destroy Roman Reigns. You made him destroy a lot of the people along the path, jobbers, wrestlers, etc. I would argue on the Fatal 4-Way at SummerSlam, he was one of the strongest guys. I mean, I think he gave Brock 2 power slams through 2 different tables. I mean, he looked like a dominant monster. So then you come to this match, and it's generic, and it's a couple suplexes and 1 F5. The other problem is that you did not even make him look strong in the loss. Had he eaten like 3 or 4 F5s and finally been done, we'd be like, all right, believable. Hey, he looked really strong in the loss. Maybe he's there. They didn't even do that. So the fact that they did not make him look strong in a loss and he did not win a championship is a double whammy of bullshit.
Totally agree. Like, the match ending just didn't make sense. Like, I was reading reviews from people that were actually there, and they said the place just completely deflated. Like, they didn't even make it compelling. Like, he came out there, and Braun was looking strong at first, and then like after he got in that Kimura lock or whatever and his arm was hurt, how does that make him his entire body weak? Like, that made no sense to me. Number two, he was in the ropes as the shit was getting put on him. Just because you're standing up, that doesn't negate saying, hey, this needs a rope break. So that didn't make any sense. And so he just slowly but surely in like a 10-minute match keeps getting weaker and weaker until one F5 puts him away. And like you said, it wouldn't have been so horrible. Like, is still the wrong decision, but it wouldn't have been as bad. But just like, nobody expected that. Like you said, he's such a monster for months going into this, has been completely owning Brock on a week-to-week basis, and then he actually gets there for the match, and it's just so sad. Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty much. It's now, and here's the terrible thing is that the excuse, and I'm going to say that because it's exactly what it is that this was supposed to be the Great Balls of Fire match, but they delayed it to No Mercy. So are you trying to tell me that Great Balls of Fire, instead of No Mercy, he takes a couple suplexes and one F5? Because guess what? Samoa Joe, rewatch that match. It's the same thing. It's a couple suplexes and one F5 after Joe dominated. So really now you're making Brock, I think you're making Brock look weak, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's Brock being lazy or the combination of both, but you're making Brock look extremely lazy and a guy that honestly is arguably one of the worst champions right now in the sense of he's never there and his matches are the same. And that's what we complained about. Now, I will not go, as of this recording, whenever you're watching this, Jinder Mahal is the WWE champion. So I'm not going as far as that, but I'm going to tell you that this is still really, really bad. And yeah, I think we're debating tonight about if Braun Strowman actually won the title, what would we have done? What would have happened? So I'm kind of interested to see what your booking idea would have been.
Well, there's one very obvious, really good, what I think would be a terrific storyline in that ever since he's left the Wyatt family and kind of went out on his own, they never mention anything about him ever being with Bray Wyatt or anything like that. Like, there's been no crossover, no talk in between them that I've seen anyway. And so, I mean, I know that Bray just lost to Finn, but, you know, if we're fantasy booking anyway, that could have been switched or whatever. But, you know, and like you were saying on the scoop, Bray could come out and be like, I helped mold you and help create you and make you what you are today. You owe everything to me or something like that. But Bray Wyatt would be a great feud. And it could take a couple of months because, like, I also heard a rumor, haven't heard much more about this, but I heard a rumor that they were thinking of bringing the Wyatt family back. So they could lead into, like, you know, just the singles match of Bray versus Braun, and maybe have Braun be, like, a little bit intimidated because Bray did used to be his leader or something, just so he doesn't look like he has that much of an advantage. Make it interesting. And then, like, either have him beat Bray at the next pay-per-view or almost to beat Bray, and then the Wyatt family comes and, you know, turns it into a schmoz where Bray gets disqualified so they can do a second match or something like that. I think that would be very interesting. It keeps your title on the show, keeps people fighting for it, realizing that it's actually something important and not something that is just, oh, well, it's gone for a few months, so nobody worry or think about that anymore. You know, so that's probably the first thing that I would do. What were you thinking? Okay,
so my original booking idea, because, you know, we're no better than the people who write this shit, right? So my idea was originally for, and I think you mentioned this too, so I'm not going to take all the credit. SummerSlam 14, Brock Lesnar just annihilated John Cena. They should have done this where Braun Strowman annihilated Brock Lesnar and made him just completely just vulnerable, useless. Have Braun stand on top, do the Raw, you know, and held the title and looked like a dominant monster where it's like he just destroyed Brock Lesnar. Like, he is the king of kings right now. That's the borrow Triple H line. But the point being is that he could have been the most dominant thing in wrestling. And I would have had Paul Heyman kind of take a look at him like kind of weird. And then the next night, maybe have it revealed where Heyman comes down trying to convince him to give Brock a rematch, and he doesn't do it. And but then at the end of the night, you find out Heyman's managing Braun Strowman. He'll come back out like in the main event, and then all of a sudden, Heyman's the mouthpiece for Braun Strowman and said, "I'll take the new beast because my beast is washed up." Have Brock go on his own. Have Brock kind of be like, if he's about to hit the sunset anyways, be his own guy, be his own mouthpiece, and have Paul Heyman on TV more. Have him be the mouthpiece for the most prize fighter in wrestling, the newest prize fighter. Now, he'd be on every week. There's a difference between Braun and Brock, but Paul Heyman would be the guy dictating who faces him and who doesn't face him. And you can even do a Bray Wyatt thing, but have Paul Heyman kind of be like, well, I'm a little worried, but at the same time, you kicked him out and he's more successful. And, Paul Heyman can spin this. Paul Heyman's one of the greatest mouths in history of wrestling, so let's not kid ourselves.
Right.
I would probably have a Paul Heyman as the manager for Braun. Braun dominates everybody. At TLC, I would probably go with your idea with a Bray versus Braun match. Have Braun retain. Maybe after the match, have a reunited Wyatt family. And then at Survivor Series, have Brock come back all kinds of pissed off. Wants his rematch. You can have the rematch in some sort of special stipulation match, kind of like a false count anywhere or something like that. Or just a match that these two could beat the shit out of each other. It's basically what I'm trying to apply to. Have Braun beat him again, more of a back and forth match. And I'd have Braun hold the title until WrestleMania. And at that point, the person who I'd have him lose to, if he's built back up correctly, is Finn Balor. Because you can kind of have Finn be that guy. Maybe he wins the Royal Rumble. Finn Balor can probably go to the Demon form at WrestleMania because it is WrestleMania, and then have those two put on a hell of a match and have the smaller Finn Balor beat the Beast, Braun Strowman, and then it's a huge victory for him, and you've once again regained Finn Balor as the main event caliber talent on top of Braun still looking strong, and you can have that for a feud. I just think it's money written on all of that.
Yeah, I definitely like those ideas. Because then you're building more stars instead of worrying about the people who just aren't there. Like I can't get behind that decision to push to the moon people that just aren't there every week. Like there's no point in putting so much behind them whenever they're not even going to be there to help your ratings do anything anyway. So, and then maybe you get a slight bump when they come back, but Brock Lesnar now is not exactly the asset that he was whenever he first returned, and actually had matches. Like he lost his first match whenever he came back. Yep. So it's like it wouldn't hurt Brock. I think that's what they're so afraid of him not looking like this monster for Roman Reigns to be able to take down, but he would still be strong. You know what I mean? He still would be a good character. And whatever. And like you were saying, if Paul Heyman did kind of defect and piss off Brock, that was one of the things that made Brock the coolest back in 2002. Whenever, Paul went with the Big Show, and then Brock kind of went on his own and was able to become the face version of Brock Lesnar. Because certain people like Brock Lesnar anyway, and as long as you keep him a badass, he doesn't have to say a lot, because I know that he's kind of doesn't like talking that much, so you don't got to say a lot, but just enough to get your point across, and it would be fine.
And let's face facts. You can have him do backstage promos like he normally does, anyways. And some of these big fights, he's all like, "I'm Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit. I'm here to fight." Like you can have that with Brock Lesnar as a face, and have him pump up as Brock Lesnar. You don't even have to have him come out and do the microphone. You know what you have him do? You come out, F5 a couple people, suplex him, throw him in this stuff. That's what Brock Lesnar does. You can have that without Paul Heyman. And like that, I know it's a separate thing, but the point is you can have Brock versus Roman by itself with no title at WrestleMania and it could sell. Like it's not that hard.
I fully agree. And I think that would be so much better, because I I don't know personally, and I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know personally the wrestling fan, and I talk to several of you guys daily, that wants to see Brock versus Roman for the Universal Championship as the main event of WrestleMania. No, I don't want that. That seems boring as shit to me. Just the fact that I know that that's what it's going to be, and so all of this programming for the next 6-7 months is going to be nothing but trying to get to that end game. Pushing those two so they look unstoppable, and it's like, whatever, man. I'm over that shit. I'm over Roman having a main event every year. I'd much rather see champion Braun, whether he's a heel or a face, because at this point, or at least before No Mercy, at that point, he could do either, because him being that over and that strong and that much of a monster was getting people behind him, not to mention him repeatedly beating up Roman. That helped, of course, but right. It's just, why ignore what people seem interested in and hungry for just to stick to this bland-ass, uninteresting story? I don't get it. Braun was the way that they should have gone, because he could carry this company probably for 2 or 3 years as just circling that Universal Championship.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, and I know what it means, but here's the big thing that makes, like we were talking about, like, there's a point of losing and looking strong in the loss. And if he took all this beating and 3 and 4 or 5s to kind of like really just be beaten, you're like, all right, I can respect the loss. He lost, but he looked strong as shit. And then he could build them back up to even, hell, a Braun versus Brock rematch, because it took so much to get him out of it that maybe Brock could be scared of Braun Strowman, and they have a rematch down the line, maybe at Royal Rumble. We'll say Royal Rumble, Braun gets his one last shot at Brock Lesnar. And I know realistically he wouldn't have won that either. But there's got to be something in Vince's head where he goes, all right, let's put the title on this kid. He's been dominant. He's the guy I admire, which is tall, big, muscular, dominating. That's Vince's MO. We can have this guy rock with the title for a while. If we don't like what he's doing, by Royal Rumble, we'll have Roman or Brock take it off of him, and then we'll have our little match we've been dreaming about for 6 months. But why not give Braun this time? Why not say, here, this is what's going on? And if he looks dominant, then you go, here, we're throwing the curveball. We'll have Roman versus Brock, no title. And then you go, well, like I said, probably Finn Balor, build up Finn Balor again versus Braun Strowman or something. And it makes too much sense, so that's why they won't.
Yeah, it's just like they're taking something that just seems so clear-cut and easy to keep things interesting rather than fucking make them completely boring, that I can't wrap my mind around it, honestly. And, it's basically what you were saying. He doesn't, even if he did lose it at like the Royal Rumble or whatever, so that they could still have their special little match that they're all so horny for or whatever, that's fine. But you still created you've still put him at that next level that I don't, whenever you have him get pinned after 1 F5 after he's this monster, that just took so much away from it for me, because, you'll get a lot of people talking about, it's just one loss. He's fine and everything, but he's not fine. To me, that made him look like a bitch.
It's how you lose.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Lose. Yes, and I just thought of something in my head as we're sitting here. So we go with an idea I was talking about. Say Braun drops the title Royal Rumble. What's not to say he enters the Royal Rumble later on and starts going Braun on everybody, and then somebody can eliminate him, or he tries to get it back, and that's how he started his feud for WrestleMania. Like, you can still make him a monster that night. You don't even have to just say, oh, he loses, because, hey, Roman Reigns. Remember, he lost the title match, I believe it was last year, and was in the Royal Rumble at number 30. So,
that would be awesome. That would be the perfect way to just, still have him have a really awesome WrestleMania storyline leading up to WrestleMania. So, so he didn't just lose the title at Rumble and like be floating around not knowing what to do, or, God forbid, get put in like the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or some bullshit. You know what I mean?
I heard that too. They're all like, well, we could put him in Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Like, now give me a break. I want Braun now to be in a main event caliber match. And I guess if there's one match, let's put it this way. Let's just play hypothetical like we are, pretend land. If Braun Strowman were to hold the title, where would you have him drop it into who?
Fuck. I like your idea about Finn Balor at WrestleMania. I find it much more realistic to be something like back to Brock at the Rumble, which I wouldn't mind that. I think that would be fine with me. Like, at least we would get 3 or 4 months of Braun as champion, and that's interesting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like the biggest Braun Strowman mark in the world. I think that he is entertaining right now, and what they need is shit that's entertaining right now, not shit that they hope is entertaining in 7 months. I would love that, but as far as I don't really know anybody else that is on the rise or deserves to kind of be back to that point as much as probably Finn Balor. I mean, you're right. Like, he could be the Demon and, hold off on bringing the Demon back until WrestleMania, especially since they almost kind of buried the Demon gimmick by being like, oh, the man thought up the Demon, so who's worse? It's like, well, I guess, right? But the Demon looks cool. But anyway, you can wait and have him bring that back, and that would be a good match because who else do we have? I mean,
we can walk with Elias.
We can walk with Elias. I don't know how long Joe's going to be out, but that could be an interesting match. But I don't think as interesting as Finn Balor.
I would have had him along the way face Joe. I wouldn't have had Joe take the title off of him, but that would be a good along the way championship match. Now, here's one. I didn't understand this last year. We can also have the whole Braun versus somebody on SmackDown wins the Royal Rumble but jumps to Raw because apparently that was not an option anymore. And then and I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just say AJ wins the Rumble. AJ faces Braun Strowman, and AJ, I'm just saying as an example, I don't understand how that's not an option anymore. Apparently the brand wins. You get to stay on set brand and face the title. I'm like, no, I remember when they used to go Raw or SmackDown and you would provoke one way or the other.
Right. And that made shit more interesting. I mean, obviously one of the more memorable ones is whenever Batista won, and then you're like, oh, well, is he going to stay and face Triple H, or is he going to go over to SmackDown or whatever? And so that would be another thing that's interesting. I think WWE just, at this point, just says, we don't want to do anything interesting. Is there a way we can destroy this company? Let's do that instead.
Well, you know what? I forgot one idea, and I don't want to give him full credit, but Drop Corn is the nickname for this guy. Drop Corn had an idea of Braun Strowman winning the Royal Rumble and then jumping the SmackDown and being in the main event on SmackDown and winning the WWE title, which would not be the worst thing in the world compared to being on Raw and apparently not going to be in the way of the Roman Brock thing.
I would, if I was on the mid to upper level in WWE on the Raw brand, I would just be sad because you're never going to be the Universal Champion. Like people like Samoa Joe, he's never going to be Universal Champion at this point. Like you don't, first of all, you don't get a chance because the dude who has it isn't there to defend it at every pay-per-view. And second of all, Vince has his head so far up fucking Roman Reigns' ass that he doesn't care about anybody else. That's all it's like he's blind to anything else that's going on. It's just Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and I don't care about anything else. So it sucks right now. And that's, I'm not boycotting Raw. I'm just not wasting my time to watch it. If I hear about something interesting happening, maybe I'll check it out. But it's going to have to be good. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Here's my final question and final thought on this. When is Braun going to win the title?
I would say if it's not by SummerSlam of next year, just throw in the towel. What's the fucking point of what's the point of his character anymore? Because I figure, I mean, it seems crystal clear. Roman's going to beat Brock. Brock arguably goes away maybe forever. I don't know. And then, you know, Roman will, they're not just going to drop it the next month. So probably at least till SummerSlam. And I'd say, you know, I'd say we've got about a year. And if they don't pull the trigger by then, sorry, you're wasting a great character that nobody really expected to be that cool. I mean, I certainly did.
Agreed.
And, you know, things were going right where he just was ascending and being built up and becoming cooler and cooler as the weeks went on. And it's just one of those things where if it's not their plan, then whatever. Like, and it wasn't groundswell to the level of Daniel Bryan, I guess, where they couldn't ignore it. So they're like, well, we can still ignore it. See ya. Sorry. Sorry, Braun.
And okay, but here's here's the thing that's hilarious. So they're doing it to Braun Strowman, but Braun Strowman's the guy that Vince's MO is big, bulky. I love these guys, and he's doing it to that, not this as the quote vanilla midget as they went on to call these other guys. This is what makes no sense. It's a guy that can be a champion and look realistic, and you're not giving him the championship.
Yeah,
I just don't understand it.
He's younger than Brock. He's bigger than Brock, and he's bigger than Roman. So like, this should be who you want. Like, can we just flick a switch and the switch on one side says Brock and flip it up to where it's Braun? Like, I'd much rather have him dominate every week than worry about fucking Brock Lesnar who's not there or Roman Reigns who just is not connecting the way that you want him to after years of trying, bro. Yeah. Like, I mean, how long do you have to experiment with something before it becomes a failed experiment? I don't know.
I think the insane Vince McMahon wants to test the definition of insanity. I'll just leave it at that. But my answer, by the way, is the first SmackDown pay-per-view after WrestleMania because the Superstar Shakeup will put Braun on SmackDown. He'll probably get a title match right off the bat and then take the championship. That's what I'm going to say.
I could be, except for Jinder Mahal's going to be champion for the rest of his life. So...
hey, as of this recording, I'm going to Hell in a Cell. So if I come back in 2 weeks and he's still champ, I'm going to cry. But no, the point is that I hope not. I really hope not. His time is up, man. No, he ain't cutting it. But that's a whole different topic.
His time is up, but whose time is now? That's the question.
Braun!
All right, so anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there for this late debate. Let us know what you think. Do you think that Brock still should be champion? Let me know in the comments, because if you do, probably can't be your friend. Yeah, just let us know what you think about everything that happened in No Mercy. And Tony, where can people check you out at?
The Discord of EBar. It's quite awesome. Mixer.com/th1ne, however you want to say, th1 thine. As of this recording, I'm doing basketball and football, but pretty soon this game called Cuphead just came out, so hopefully maybe doing that then.
Hell yeah. All right. Follow me on Twitter at EBarSays. Follow the game we've got in development at Pixel City Bros on Twitter and Facebook.com/Pixel City Bros. And hit subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, so that's it for myself and Tony H. We'll see you next time.
Double doses.